Today I want to address what some might be kind of an elephant in the room. Yes, there are knives up here, and I thought it was a good idea to have knives, but then people thought we might be doing some weird things with knives. I promise there's nothing weird going to happen with these, but talk about them in just a little bit. But one of the reasons that I brought them is because one of my favorite things to do and one of my biggest joys and hobbies in life is cooking. And sometimes, as is with everybody, cooking is a chore and it's really a challenge because you have to provide a meal every day for your family. But sometimes it's a lot of fun, and sometimes it's just part of what I do to kind of enjoy and to chill out in life. And when I cook, I always kind of like have my cutting board, and I've got this big fancy cutting board. It's a Christmas gift last year, and so I have my cutting board out on the counter, and then I have my knives ready to go, so I can get through the vegetables and the meats or whatever in a short order of time. And making sure, in leading up to this, you've got to make sure that your knife is sharp, because a sharp knife helps you accomplish these things in a quick way and in an easy way. And I always remember being told that a dull knife was more dangerous than a sharp knife. Truth be told, I've never cut myself with a dull knife. I've only ever cut myself with a sharp knife. However, I was doing some research about this, and it actually is true, because when you have a sharp knife and you cut yourself, you're going to bleed. But you're able to cut through stuff really easily. However, when you have a dull knife and you start cutting through things, you're not using the knife so much as you're using the force that you have to push through things. And what that means is that your knife is more a tendency to slip and to pull. And so the injuries that happen from dull knives, because more force has been applied, are actually more severe than on most of the time, more severe than they are with sharp knives. My brother is a trauma surgeon. I asked him about this. All of his knife wounds are like stabbings. So it was like a completely different conversation of where I thought we were going on this, but he assumed that most of his knives were probably dull too, but it didn't really matter because there was a whole other purpose for their use. But when I always like to have my knife sharp and ready to go, but the thing also is I have in my mind those infomercials of the dull knife, like those infomercials where everything goes wrong. You're trying to mop the floor and you have the mop ends up on your head and you end up on the floor with mop water everywhere, and the screen goes black and white. And when I think about a dull knife, I think about it in those terms. And in fact, my family, we're getting ready to go on vacation in a few weeks, and we've got this vacation house that we've rented close to the beach. And one of my priorities in trying to find the place, in fact, we picked the location because we found the house, because supposedly it was well equipped in the kitchen and had a nice outdoor space, which is really important family, because my kids, we've got 2 kids that have severe food allergies, so we can't go out to eat all that often, and another kid who's allergic to dogs, and so we got to have a place that's not pet friendly, and so all these kind of things, and the thing that I know as soon as we get there is that if that knife is dull, it's going to make it difficult to do that. And maybe though your thing isn't the kitchen, so you're like, why is he talking about knives? And that's ridiculous. But we all have certain things in our lives, and so maybe you're using other dull blades in life. Maybe you're using a dull axe blade or a dull chainsaw, which is really hard to use. Maybe you're using dull scissors. My wife was a hairdresser for 15 years, and when her scissors were dull, it wouldn't cut the hair. The hair just kind of bends over, and maybe it made it more dangerous. I don't know. But it was difficult to use. The thing that happens is that when your tools aren't well prepared, they don't function as they're supposed to, which makes them difficult to work with and perhaps even dangerous. Just as a blade may meet many challenges on the cutting board, or just as a tool may meet many challenges in life. In life, you and I we have to navigate life's challenges on a daily basis. Maybe you find yourself juggling the demands of a job while trying to ensure quality time with your spouse or children or grandchildren. Maybe you're facing financial pressures with the cost associated with raising children or health care or food or housing. Maybe you find yourself in a sandwich generation where you're caring for aging parents while your kids don't seem to have everything going for them, and you're still caring for them and trying to help them get started in life. Maybe in later life, I know can become difficult because social circles often shrink around retirement and the loss of spouses or the loss of people that are close to you, and mobility issues that can lead to loneliness. Or maybe you are like other people who struggle with just finding a sense of purpose or fulfillment in life, and whether that has to do with careers or relationships or personal growth, and you just kind of struggle. Regardless of the challenges that you face in life, it can be hard to face these challenges alone. In fact, human beings, I believe very strongly, were never intended to do life alone. In fact, from the very beginning, God created human beings to be together. If you go back to the earliest stories in the Bible from the book of Genesis, we read about how God created all that is, and what did God do is God created human beings together, to be in community and in relationship together. And in fact, when God created the first human being, God realized that things were great, but things were maybe not super great because this person could get lonely. And so God created another human being for them to be able to be together in relationship. And that's what we're talking about today and over the next couple of weeks, about this relationship of being together. And today we're in the second week of our message series called Sit With Me in September. And this message series is designed to help you see God's plan for community, for purpose, for belonging, and for strengthening and growing together. Last week, if you were with us last week, we talked about the importance of relationships and providing strength and support for one another. And today we're focusing on a different part of this and trying to focus on how community and togetherness can help you face the challenges of life and also to help you grow. Here at Kern Church, and I've said it earlier today, we're all about being a church of people helping people belong, grow in faith, and make a difference. And so today we're focusing on what it means to help you and to help other people grow in faith. And so to do this, we're going to look at a couple of passages from the Bible that talk about the importance of other people in your life, that talk about the importance of other people in your life to help you grow in life and to help you grow in faith. And I've brought a few tools that we're going to talk about. These scary knives. At least some thought they were scary. Knives and other things to talk about, and kind of as we look at this to help us understand, hopefully, how to grow together and how to stay sharp. And one of the best verses in the Bible that speaks about the importance of other people helping you grow and navigate life comes from the book of Proverbs. Now, Proverbs is a book in the Old Testament. If you know anything about the Bible, you might know that it's divided into two main sections. The New Testament, which is kind of like the life and the ministry of Jesus and what happens after Jesus, and the Old Testament, which is about God's story with God's people from the very beginning. And Proverbs is part of the wisdom tradition, what we call the wisdom tradition in the Old Testament, that promises to teach you and me about how to be wise, about how to live life in a way that is beneficial to God, to yourself, and to others. Promises to teach you how to be wise. And the first verse that I want to share with you comes from, it's one of the Proverbs. It comes from Proverbs chapter 27, verse 17. And it's really short and it's really simple. It says this. It says, as iron sharpens iron, I can't speak, sorry. So as iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. As iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. And so this gives us the idea that it takes other people to sharpen you. It takes other people to help you grow. It takes other people to help you be what you're intended to be. You can't sharpen yourself just as a knife can't sharpen itself. It's going to take some outside force, somebody else to sharpen you, to help you grow. Proverbs reminds us that there is importance in being together. There's importance in sharpening each other. And this brings us to the next scripture passage that I want to share with you today. It brings us into the church. It brings us into today. And it shows us the importance of how sharpening one another plays out in the community of faith. How it can play out in a group of people who are following after the way of Jesus. And what I want to read to you comes from the book of Ephesians in chapter 4, around verse 15. And Ephesians is in the New Testament, which is the other part of the Bible from Proverbs. And it's a letter that was written, tradition tells us it was written by this guy named Paul to a church to help encourage the church and how to live with the life of Jesus and how to grow in faith. And he's writing to encourage a church how to grow in faith. And Paul knows that sometimes in churches that there can be division. Paul knows that sometimes in churches, people can get upset. I know if you've been to church before, you've never been in a church where anybody's ever been upset. And that's never happened in this church. Nobody has ever been upset here, of course. But Paul knows that on occasion, sometimes people get upset in churches. Paul knows that sometimes difficult things can happen in churches. But even still, he knows about the importance of people remaining together. The importance of people growing together. And here's what Paul writes in Ephesians chapter 4, beginning in verse 15. He says this, "By speaking the truth with love, let's grow in every way into Christ, who is the head. The whole body grows with him, as it is joined and held together by all the supporting ligaments. The body makes itself grow, and that it builds itself up with love, as each one does their part." As each one does their part. Here Paul is encouraging the church, which he refers to as a body, as the body of Christ. And he is encouraging the church to help each other grow in faith, to help each other grow and to do good in life and to become more of who God wants you to be. And how do you help each other grow in faith? How does Paul say? He says, you speak the truth in love. You speak the truth in love to one another. You grow in ways towards Jesus. And the only way that you can do this, the only way that you can speak the truth in love is by being together with other people. Because you need somebody to speak the truth in love to. You can't speak it to yourself. And now sometimes like positive affirmations and these things are good for you, but you can't really speak the truth to yourself because if you don't know the truth, you're probably blinded to what it is. And so you need somebody else to do it. And then somebody else needs you to do that for him and for them. And this is Paul's vision for the whole church, the whole body growing with Jesus, joined together and held together and supporting one another in the growth. And he even uses this image of ligaments of the body being held together. This muscular idea of how followers of Jesus can be held together and knit with one another, how tightly together God wants people of faith to be, built up with love as each does their part. And when I read this and when I read what Paul has to say in his heart there for helping people grow and grow together, what I think that he is doing is he's just kind of interpreting these ideas from Proverbs about iron sharpening iron and other people sharpening other people in the church and what it looks like when people of faith are encouraging one another to grow together. And so that brings us to the tools that I've brought today. So some of the things that show and tell things that I've brought today. And maybe I've mentioned them already. You've seen these knives sitting up there. You're like, if you're new here, you're like, why are there knives in the middle of the sanctuary? Like, that's crazy. Or maybe you're just like, this pastor has lost it and he's got knives here. What's going on? And I want to talk about the knives for a little bit because this is where my mind went and I found it helpful. And so I hope that you do as well. But when I look at these tools, these knives and other tools, in a lot of ways, they're like you and they're like me. You know, if you go to the store and you buy a brand new knife, it doesn't matter how expensive it is, it's going to be sharp. Unless there's a factory defect. I remember when Hope and I got married 1,000 years ago, and we were really young when we got married anyways, but when we got married 1,000 years ago, we got, not Christmas gifts. wedding gifts. Thank you, Michelle. We got wedding gifts, and part of that is, you get toasters and like mixers and knives. We got knives, right? We got this whole knife block, and I started pulling the knives out, and none of them were sharp. They were like dull from the factory, and so I had to call the factory and get new knives sent to us, which were a little bit sharper, but they had no factory edge on them. They were just dull right out of the box. But unless you get a defect like that, if you buy a new knife, doesn't matter how cheap or how expensive it is, it's going to be sharp. And so today I pulled this knife out of the kitchen. Now this is a big knife, right? And it was like, oh, this is a big knife, and maybe it's a powerful knife. But we have a kitchen over here that we cook some stuff in and help with events. And I don't know if you've ever been in a knife drawer in a church, but you can find so many dull knives. Like these knives have been used so often that they have been loved down and worn down to where there's nothing. And if you try to cut something with this knife, you might get hurt. If you try to slice a tomato with this knife, the tomato's definitely going to be hurt. If I run my finger along this edge, there's no way I'm getting cut. Like I would almost give this to my 2-year-old. I wouldn't, because he would find a way to break it. But this is there's like nothing to this. It's hardly even a knife. And then I have this knife I brought from home, which is not an expensive knife. I mean, this is a fairly inexpensive knife, but it's the knife I use every day, and it's sharp. In fact, it could probably use to be sharpened, but it's a sharp knife, and I keep it sharp, and I use it every day that I cook. I love this knife, and it's, like I said, it's not an expensive knife, but it's the knife I love. And then I also have my honing steel, and if you cook and whatnot, you probably have one of these as well. And I want to talk about the role of this honing steel, and maybe this whole thing that I'm talking about knives is falling completely flat, and if so, then I'm just humoring myself here, and my apologies, and I'll quit talking about knives next week, and so you can come for that. But when I was thinking about this, I really was reflecting on this idea of sharpening. And like this is called a honing steel, and some people might call this a knife sharpener, but it's not. This will not sharpen your knife. In fact, if you use your knife for a long time, what happens is that it will become dull, and it'll have like nicks in the blade, and it'll be hard to use, and you do have to get the knife sharpened. And in fact, I have a knife sharpener at home, and it's electric. Now, I don't feel like that's all that manly. I feel like I should have a whetstone and be able to really hone, make this blade super beautiful with a whetstone and magic or something, but I don't. I've got an electric knife sharpener. But even an electric knife sharpener, it's hard work. And you have to pull the knife through it, and it's intensive work, and it can take a long time to do this. And sharpening, it's intensive work. Even with this electric knife sharpener, it can take a long time, because what happens is you have to carve the metal out. To sharpen a blade that's been damaged, all you can do is take more material away. Just keep eating at it and taking more material away until you make a path for the knife to be sharp again. And when you sharpen a blade, you're just taking away the defects and impurities of that blade so that edge can be restored again. And this is something that I might do, once a year, maybe twice a year if I'm feeling really excited about it. But on the other hand, I have this honing steel with me, and this is something, it doesn't sharpen the blade, but what it does is it hones the blade. And what this means is that when you use a knife, it doesn't just automatically go dull unless you're using it, like abusing the knife. But usually what happens is that a burr will start to form on the blade. And what a burr is all it means is that the sharp edge of the knife is like bending over on itself. And it'll feel as if the knife is getting dull, but all that's happening is that the blade, the sharp end or the cutting edge of the blade will start to bend over on one side or the other, or maybe on both sides. And so what you have to do is you have to run the knife across the honing steel. And prior to the cooking, I always do this, is I'll just run the knife over the steel. And I was watching a show with a knife sharpener once. This is really ridiculous. But I was watching this knife sharpener talk about it, and he said you should always hone the knife on both sides at the same amount of time. So it's like 5 on one side, 5 on the other side. So like this. and then the other way. And then you keep going until you get down to one, and so your knife is well aligned by this point, and then you're ready to go. And so that's what I do. Nearly every time that I cut with pull this knife out of the drawer, I pull out the honing steel to do this maintenance. And it's done, and it keeps the knife aligned and sharp. You know, we have similar things when it comes to faith. And for example, when I think about sharpening, this intensive act that sometimes is painful for the blade, when I think about sharpening, I think about those times when God might have moved in your life in a powerful way. Maybe it was a time when you went to camp, or you went for a retreat, or you had this really powerful moment in worship and your life changed. And God spoke to you. I mean, some people can point to a moment in their life where they're like, I was walking down the path of life and things were really difficult for me at this point, and then God spoke to me and my life changed. And I had this moment in life where everything changed, and I knew in this moment that God spoke to me and everything changed, and I was going to be following Jesus after that point. For some people, it may not be as dramatic, but for most followers of Jesus, there have been times, and maybe these times have been infrequent, when God speaks to you and says, you know what, I've got you. I've got you. Or I'm calling you to do this. I'm calling you and asking you to do something different. And God moved in your life in a powerful way, and it changed the course perhaps of your life or a season of your life in a powerful way. And what I want you to know about these things is these things are a blessing and they're amazing. So if you've experienced something like this in your life, I want to invite you to give thanks to God for that and to see that as a moment of affirmation that God is speaking in your life and has spoken in your life. But even as we think about that and even as we celebrate those, these are things that don't usually happen every day. They don't usually happen every single week. They happen on occasion, and for some people, maybe they happen more often than others. But when I think about the wisdom from the Proverbs of iron sharpening iron, and one person sharpening another, and when I think about what Paul says about speaking the truth in love to each other, and I think about what it means about sharpening, and how it happens maybe once or twice a year, instead what I come to is this idea about honing the blade, honing the steel that happens on a regular basis. The regular honing that you may do in your kitchen on your knife blade is something that keeps it aligned and keeps it sharp and keeps it ready to do. And then I think about how the regular relationships, the regular and ongoing relationships and interactions that you have in your life, these are things that too can keep you spiritually sharp. That too, these are things that can speak to you in your life on a regular basis, keeping you connected to God, keeping you connected to other people, helping to affirm those times in your life where God maybe has sharpened you in a powerful way, but honing you and helping you. Regular honing of a knife keeps it aligned and sharp, and the regular ongoing relationships and interactions that you have in your life can keep you spiritually sharp. People around you that can speak the truth in love to you. The people around you that can celebrate with you when life is good. People around you that can hold you when life is hard. People around you that can help you belong when you need a friend, when you need a place to call home. People around you that can help you grow in faith. People around you that can help you make a difference in your community and your world, perhaps that you didn't even think was possible. Just as a knife needs regular honing to be able to work, you need regular honing in your life from people around you to help you grow in faith each and every day. So when you think about your own life, and what you have going on, I want to challenge you to think about how are you being honed in your own life? How are you being honed in your daily life? Do you have others to speak to you in your daily life? Do you have others to speak life into your life on a regular basis? Or are you trying to go it alone and figure out what that means? The reality is if you try to go it alone, you risk becoming spiritually dull. I mean, you really do. You risk becoming spiritually dull. And even if God has moved in a powerful way in your life before, like the sharpening of a knife, if you don't have people around you to support you and to help you stay sharp in this, to hone the edge of your life on a regular basis, on a weekly basis, on a daily basis, you will grow spiritually dull. And just as a dull knife can be dangerous, when you go spiritually dull, it's more easy to make mistakes. It's more easy to slip up. It's more easy to think life is about the things I get instead of the things I give. It's more easy to think about what's in it for me than to think about what's in it for somebody else and how I can help somebody else and how I can bring somebody else to Jesus. It makes navigating the challenges in life even more difficult. So who is it in your life that helps you stay spiritually sharp? Who is it in your life that speaks the truth and love to you and helps you stay connected to God and growing in faith? And if you have an answer for this, I want to invite you to give thanks to God. If you have an answer for this today and you're like, I'm not even sure, I know this pastor is talking about crazy stuff today and has knives and stuff. I don't even know what he's talking about. I'm not even sure if I have anybody in my life. But if you have an answer to this today, I want to invite you just to give thanks to God, because that's an amazing thing. It's something a lot of people, perhaps even most people, don't have. So if you have if you know the person or the people in your life that help you stay sharp, I want to invite you to give thanks to God. You know, maybe you're in a small group or a Sunday school class or some other type of group that is pouring into your life and helping you to stay sharp and helping you stay connected with God and with other people. And if that's the case, I want to invite you to just give thanks to God for those people in your life that are helping you in that way. On the other hand, if you struggle, if you find yourself struggling with this answer and you're like, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I have somebody in my life. I'm not sure if I have a group of people in my life that can help me do this. And if you're not sure if you have a person or people in your life that can help you do this, or you're not sure that you have a place to belong or grow in faith yet, I want to give you an invitation. If you've been with us for the past few weeks, we've been talking about belong groups. And belong groups are small groups of 8 to 12 or 16 people who get together on a weekly basis, who are committed to being connected together and committed to helping each other build community and relationships. They're helping and committed to helping other people belong, grow in faith, and make a difference. And they meet each week to hone the spiritual lives of others in the group. And some of our belong groups started last week. My group's starting this afternoon, later today. And so my invitation for you is that if you don't yet have a place to belong, if you don't yet have people around you that can help you stay spiritually sharp, that can help you grow in faith, I want to invite you to join a belong group. And you don't have to join forever. You can just check it out and see if it's good for you and see if it's the right fit for you. And we still have a belong group booth that's set up over there on that white table. And there's some clipboards that have some sign-ups. And the sign-up sheets have already been taken up, and so these are new ones. They're fresh. But they have some information about each of these groups. And if you're interested in one and want to be connected, just sign up for one of them. And the leader of that group, the host of that group, will reach out to you. So if you don't have, if you're not sure the answer in your life of who in your life can help you stay spiritually sharp, I want to invite you to join a belong group. These consistent, these supportive relationships can help you grow in your faith and to help you stay spiritually sharp. And maybe you're new here today and you're not really sure that you're ready to jump in for a belong group, and that's cool, that's great. Today we also have, Matt mentioned it earlier, we have Discover Kern, which is a short 20-minute gathering that we're going to have over in the other part of the building. And this is an opportunity for you to ask questions about the church and to learn more about how to get connected and find this sense of belonging and a place to grow in your faith. And it's a no-pressure, low-pressure situation, just being able to share with you and hear back from you. So if you want to join us for that, you can just meet us over by that New Here booth, as Matt mentioned, and we'll walk over to the other part of the building where we're going to have that gathering. But it's a chance for you to learn more about how to do this, even if you're not ready to take that full step and joining a group. So if you're already, there's some of you that I know that are already in a Belong group, or you're starting the group this week. And what I want you to do is that if you're already starting to find this place, I want to give you another challenge as well, another next step that you can take. I want to invite you to think about those people that aren't in your group, that aren't in a group at all. Those people maybe in your neighborhood that you know that are struggling, and prayerfully consider about inviting them. Not inviting them in a way that's oppressive, but inviting them in a way that you know that can help them find a place to belong. And we have some invite cards over on the table as well that just say, I'm saving you a place at a Belong group. Come with me. Come with me. I'm saving you a place to belong. Come with me to a Belong group. And on the reverse side, it has a place to write your information, a phone number and some details about the group, so that you can invite somebody and bring them, maybe even pick them up and bring them to that gathering. Friends, as iron sharpens iron, one person really does sharpen another. And if you're here today and you know who that is in your life, I want to invite you to give thanks. But if you're still here today and you're not sure who's sharpening you, you're not sure if you have the relationships in your life that are helping you stay sharp, I want to invite you to take a next step. Who are you letting sharpen you? Who are the people in your life that are helping you belong and grow in faith? And if you're ready to take a step and live this out, I want to invite you to do so. And I'm going to pray for you in just a moment. I pray for you in just a moment that God will move in your life in a powerful way. And if you just want to talk about it, I'm available as well. So let's just say a word of prayer. God, I thank you. I thank you for this time to get together, to worship you. And I'm thankful that we don't do it alone. Sometimes life is just hard, and life is especially hard when we're on our own and trying to navigate the best that we can. And so I pray for each one today that if they don't have somebody in their life that can help hone them, that if somebody is in this space and is really struggling and not sure if they have those relationships in their life, I pray that you would help them take a next step, to seek that out, to explore a Belong group, to explore, discover Kern, and or even just some other avenue in life, that you would surround them with people who can help them live that, who can help them grow in faith and make a difference, who can help them stay spiritually sharp and willing and able to share that with others. God, I give this all to you. I give you thanks. In the name of Jesus, amen.